you're doing great. I'm doing an interesting video. It's called How Much Do You Love Me? Okay? So, I hope you're ready to listen. Get your listening ears ready. So, I'm in Genesis chapter 31. And, let me see. It's not really quite chapter 31 of Genesis. So, Jacob was trying to deal with his family situation, okay? Jacob basically was sent to go find a wife amidst his father's relatives, okay? So what happened was Jacob deceived his brother Esau, so his mother, it wasn't really him, it was himself and his mother, okay? So his mother kind of sent him off to go find a wife, okay? So that he would be safe away from his brother. His brother was upset with him, okay? So he went to his father's family, his grandfather's family, okay? And he went to go look for a wife. So he successfully found a wife, thank goodness, okay? And so what happened is an interesting story. You probably heard the story before. So what happened was Jacob met this woman named Rachel, okay? He was sent over there to his father's family, and he needed to know how could he find the wife that he needed to find, okay? Because he was being sent there, okay? And so Rachel was coming with sheep to a well, okay? And so anyway, what's going on is that Rachel was keeping sheep. Jacob actually, as far as we know, he might not have been eating meat. I'm not sure. His brother was a herdsman. No, his brother was a hunter. So Jacob was eating soup that was made from beans. We don't know if Jacob actually ate meat or not. I wonder if that's why his mother loved him, because he didn't really eat meat to our knowledge. We don't know. We'd have to look into more books. So anyway, so Jacob met this woman named Rachel. She was coming with the sheep. So she was actually the herdsman, but she was a shepherdess, as it's called, okay? And so, so as I stated, Jacob went to his grandfather's family to find a wife. He found this woman named Rachel. She met the criteria. Seemed like everything's cool. She went to go speak to her father and to tell her father what was going on. So her father's name was Laban, and Laban is a tricky fellow. So it's an interesting story how Jacob tricked his brother. He didn't really trick his brother. He kind of stole his brother's birthright. Then his mother helped to deceive his father into giving him the blessing, okay? So anyway, so what's going on? There's a tricky energy in the family. So Laban is kind of king of tricky energy. I kind of wonder if it was a learned situation. Like some people in our family sometimes might be trickier than others, and sometimes it's catchy. That's why sometimes you got to go away from this brethren here or this brethren over there. And maybe that's why Abram was sent away from his family, okay? So, so anyway, so this story, so he found Jacob found the woman he was looking for. It seems like all is well. He spoke to the father. The father said, "What shall I give you if you work for me?" So the son Jacob said he would work for his proposed wife for a certain amount of time, okay? And so Laban kind of tricked him, and instead of giving him the correct wife, he gave him the older sibling, the older sister, okay? So that's tricky energy. So there's a lot of tricky energy going on with Jacob, and the reason why could be because he had tricky energy going on in his life, or his family's life, or his grandfather's life, or whomever else. There was tricky energy going down, so it just kind of snowballs and gets trickier and trickier and trickier. So the situation with Laban, his father-in-law, kind of is a lot more deceptive than the things that he had seen previously. But as I stated, iniquity kind of snowballs and, you know, kind of bothers generation after generation. So, how much do you love me was what I was stating earlier, okay? So Jacob met this woman. He thinks she's awesome. He wanted to work to get her hand in marriage. And so all of a sudden, now it came to pass, verse 23 of 29, now it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah. So the father took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to Jacob. And so Jacob thought that was his wife, because I guess it was dark, so he didn't see who was the person he was dealing with, okay? So the Laban gave him the older daughter instead of the daughter that he was intending to marry, okay? So my question was, how much do you love me? When you've been wronged in a situation, when you worked hard to attain your goal, how much do you love something? How much do you love someone, okay? You've been working for it and working for it and working for it. Now, are you ready to commit even more to get what you desire? So Jacob must have really loved Rachel, because even after having been given Leah, he wanted Rachel still, so he continued to work. So he made another agreement with Laban to get Leah, okay? I'm sorry, to get Rachel. I'm so sorry, I don't know how I said that a while ago. Okay, so there's an interesting situation going on here. So, well, anyway, when he got Leah, Laban gave the maid of Leah, Zilpah, or it was really Laban's maid, Zilpah, to his daughter Leah as a maid, okay? So not only initially after having worked for a certain period of time, then Jacob got a wife, and the wife had a maid, so at least they had a helper in the house, or the wife had a helper if she had children, okay? So anyway, so it's an interesting story. So Jacob had some interesting issues before he met Laban, and now as he's trying to build a family, he's having interesting issues. So he has one wife, her name is Leah. He intended to get Rachel, okay? So when Jacob understands that he got the wrong woman, he went to go speak to his father-in-law. And he asked, why then have you deceived me? He said, was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why do you do this to me? And Laban said, he gave him an excuse like, you have to give the older child first before you give the younger child. And he convinced him to stay with the older child. And then he said, if you continue to work, then you get the child you intended, or the woman you intended to marry. Okay, so that was trickery there, okay? So anyway, there's a lot of interesting energy going on here for Jacob. And like I said, he put out interesting energy before in his past, maybe in different ways, and so now maybe it's coming back to kind of kick him in the bottom. Sorry to say it that way, but that's the way I'm saying it, okay? So anyway, so in verse 31, so Leah was married to Jacob, but he didn't really want her. So he actually got Rachel after he worked a certain period of time as requested by the father-in-law, okay? So now he has both wives, Leah and Rachel. And so now Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a maid. So now he has two wives and two maids, okay? So it's an interesting story of Jacob building his family, okay? How much do you love me, okay? So the children of Jacob. So what happened was that he didn't have children with the women initially, okay? So in verse 31 of chapter 29, it says, when the Adonai saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren, okay? So Jacob loved the woman he intended to marry, whereas the woman he was given, because she was older, he didn't love her as much, okay? So that's a little bit sad, but it's due to tricky energies, as I'm stating, okay? So Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, the Adonai has surely looked on my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. So she conceived again and bore a son, and said, because the Adonai has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi. Now if you're a woman and you understand relationships, you've been in relationships before, you do kind of understand it could be somebody's baby's mother, but that doesn't mean they really love you, okay? How much do you love me? So she bore him so far 3 sons. And she's saying, well, because I keep giving you sons, you're going to love me, okay? But I'm not really sure if that's the way that it comes about, okay? How do you attain love from someone? You attain love from someone by mutual attraction, by mutual respect, by maybe coming together under normal circumstances. This wasn't really a normal circumstance, it was trickery. So how much does he love Leah? You'd have to ask him to check it out. I'm sure he has some type of feelings for her, but she feels like because she has children for him, male children, that she's going to gain his love. I'm not sure how that works out, because you can sleep with somebody, but that doesn't mean that they will actually love you, okay? So it's an interesting story. So basically, Rachel saw that her sister had given Jacob 3 children, and she was kind of upset. And she asked the Creator. Well, she said to Jacob, she said, "Give me children, or else you will be very, very upset." She said it not in those words, okay? And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel. Uh-oh. How much do you love me? So he loved this woman enough to work so many years to get her. But that doesn't mean that because he loved her initially, it doesn't mean that she can't say something to get him upset. So either way it goes. It's either, do you love me because I gave you children? Do you love me because you initially loved me? The ways and the heart of a man, how do you know? Okay? Maybe men are very, very interesting creatures, and maybe there's some time-ish, okay? How much do you love me? How do you attain the love of your spouse? Okay, is the question that I'm asking. Is it by time? Is it by caring? How is it that you attain the love of your spouse? Okay. So anyway, so there's a debate about how much do we love each other. If I can give you children, will you love me more? So because Rachel couldn't give Jacob a child, this is an interesting story, and I don't advise you guys to do this, like to give your relatives or your maids or anything else like that into your relationship partner to get a child. But this is in the Old Testament. This is way back in the day where that type of thing, I guess maybe those were new situations back then, but we've heard of these stories before. So there's a lot of interesting issues going on here. But Jacob ended up having children for 4 women, okay? So he had a large number of children, okay? So Jacob had 12 children. Now, as I stated, there was some tricky energy in the family, so his path wasn't so smooth, right? And so with his father-in-law, he would have tricky energies going on with him too. So as Jacob, he had 11 children by 4 different women. So Rachel did eventually bear children, okay? So he had 11 children at this point, and he decided he wanted to go away from Laban, okay? There are reasons why he wanted to go away from Laban, okay? And it could just be that the spirit within him, the spirit within his dream, whatever the case may be, was telling him it's time to go away from your father-in-law, to go to your own land, okay? So even in that issue, Jacob had to deal with some inconsistencies with his father-in-law in what he expected from him and what he got, okay? And that could be just karma handing him back whatever he gave out to other people, okay? So anyway, so Jacob was kind of a blessed person. So because of that, even when he was being betrayed by his father-in-law, he will still come out with the blessings because he had the wisdom to help him to get him to where he needed to go. So basically, Jacob does flee away from Laban, okay? And so there's kind of an issue going on here, okay? There was an issue going on here as Jacob, okay, so Jacob ran into his brother Esau. Esau was traveling looking for his brother Esau because they ran into each other a little bit later on. I missed some of the story. But so anyway, so Jacob ends up, he was trying to kind of flee away from his brother Esau. He thought his brother Esau was going to harm him because he stole his birthright. Okay, sorry, I just kicked the chair. That was annoying. So anyway, so there was an issue because Jacob's name is Jacob, and Jacob means the planter, okay? So as Jacob is going through struggles with other people and deception from other people, I don't know if it's changing his character, okay? So here in Genesis 32:22, okay? So he arose that night and he took his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok, okay? He took them, he sent them over the brook and sent over what he had. And then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day, okay? So this breaking of day, this wrestling that he had with this man, I wondered who was this man that he wrestled with, okay? So basically, verse 25, now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go until you bless me, unless you bless me, okay? So he said, so this is the second time Jacob is trying to get someone to bless him, okay? I almost wonder who was it that came to wrestle with him, because it was in the night. And we know sometimes strange things happen in the night. So I just really wonder. I kind of picked up the energy of him dealing with his father and wrongs that had gone on back then. So I don't know if that's why I picked up that in the energy there, okay? So anyway, so he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So this man said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Now, the reason why the father, Isaac, came to me is because Isaac was asking, are you sure you're Esau? You know, so what is your name? And so he said Jacob. So at least he answered correctly this time, okay? And mind you, I said this time by mistake. Okay, so verse 28. And he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed, okay? So the man will not tell Jacob his name, but the man did bless Jacob, okay? So the issue here, now many people have probably preached on this message here. What is the life-changing struggle that's changing your character? Have you felt karma, I guess, give you some type of situation that you've been giving out to other people before, and then like what is changing your nature? What is it, whatever bad, low energy, whatever was going on in your life that was making you not your best self? What situation is going on in your life that's helping to push you to be a better person? That's helping to change your name to something better, to something greater? Sometimes it's the struggles that we go through in our lives that help to change us for the better, okay? So Jacob had to go through a number of issues. Not everything went well for him, but I think he's working out his better character through these issues, okay? So this may not be a pretty message, but essentially, not only because there was a blessing put on him by his father, so not only did he get his name changed to Israel, okay, but he ended up running into his brother Esau, and as he ran into his brother Esau, he was okay, he was safe, because I guess he had wisdom in how to deal with the situation. He was able to protect his wives and his children, or his wife, concubines, and children. And so it seems like that blessing that came from his father, maybe Jacob really did need it, because maybe everything was known in advance of what was going to happen and how the nations were going to come out of Abraham and how the blessing was going to come out of Abraham's descendants, okay? So sometimes we don't understand why we go through the struggles we go through. We don't even understand why our shortcomings are the way that they are, but it's all put in place to help us to become the people we need to be, to put certain circumstances, to align certain circumstances in our lives so that things can work out the way that they need to work out, okay? So sometimes we have to give thanks for those struggles and those things that were imperfect, because again, without them, who would we be, okay? So thank you for listening to my video. I really appreciate you guys. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, and comment, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.